I am really delighted to be able to introduce to you the 2006 Dayton Literary Peace Prize Award winner for her brilliant fiction, A Changed Man. The resume here includes a wide variety of literary accomplishments, 13 novels, a couple of short story collections, 3 books of translation, a collection of novellas. I believe one of those books of translation was a book from Kentucky English, if I'm not mistaken. 5 books for children. She has been a recipient of the Guggenheim Fellowship and many grants and prizes. Amazing. Has served as an informal ambassador, in a way, for the Dayton Literary Peace Prize through her genuine and really enthusiastic support of its mission to present the 2007 Awards for Fiction, the serendipitously named Miss Francine Prose.
Thank you. Once again, I find myself incredibly moved and touched by the whole project, by the whole idea of the Dayton Literary Peace Prize, by the goodness and sweetness and decency of the fact that there is a Literary Peace Prize. And, you know, any project that has the words, literary and peace, in the same phrase, how could you possibly not love it? So thank you all, and thank you, Sharon, for your heroic work and everyone involved. I also want to thank Mark Kurlansky for having spoken out about the war in Iraq and our current quote-unquote leadership so that I don't have to do it. I think that it's important to speak out whenever we can. So if I don't have to do it tonight, I'll do it every other chance I get. I always think of Dayton, I'll always think of Dayton as the place where I got to be on stage with Studs Terkel, who received the Lifetime Achievement Award last year, who is not only one of my own great, great heroes, but I have to say the single hottest older man I've ever met. I'd actually met him, I guess, about 15 years before on a picket line, of course. And when he met me up here on the stage, he said, "You're still around?" And I went, "Yeah." And he said, "You're a hell of a writer." And then he held my hand for the rest of the time on stage. And my knees kind of went weak. And I still feel sort of fluttery thinking about it. Well, speaking of still being around, it's a particular pleasure for me to introduce Brad Kessler, who actually was one of my students at the New School. Of course, I was teaching the class when I was about 5 years old. And it's a real, I mean, it makes me feel a little old, but very, very proud to even possibly have had the teensiest bit to do with encouraging him in any way. So it's a special occasion for me. Brad lives on a goat farm in Vermont with his wife, the photographer Donna McAdams. His interest in nature and animals permeates his work. He's written another novel, Lick Creek, as well as several award-winning children's books. His work has appeared in The New Yorker, The Nation, The New York Times Magazine, The Kenyon Review, and numerous other publications. Tonight, we honor him for his lyrical work, Birds in Fall, this year's Dayton Literary Peace Prize fiction winner. The book begins with a horrific scene. A plane crashes into the icy waters near Nova Scotia, killing the characters we've briefly met, a cellist, a biologist, a sleeping young woman. That we cared that these strangers we barely know have perished is a testament to Brad Kessler's skill in reminding us that behind the details of every newspaper account of a tragedy are the actual people who've lost a lover, a son, a niece, a husband. As the recovery continues and the relatives of the dead gather from around the world, Kessler rises above the macabre scenes of workers gathering the debris and the body parts to focus on the real story, the stages of grief. Waiting for words of their dead, the mourners form a community that connects and supports them. Human migration mirrors the migration of birds as Kessler skillfully layers one level of metaphor on another. How is a story like a bird? It keeps us aloft, it flies, it goes from one place and lands at another seemingly at random, but its movements are carefully choreographed, and if you look closely, you'll know exactly where it will next perch. Brad Kessler.
Thank you, Francine, who taught me more than just the smallest bit of knowledge. There was a great large window of knowledge and a whole world of opportunity that she opened for me. So it's a great honor to be presented, have her introduce me. And thank you to Sharon, and thank everyone who has come tonight. I have to say that when I first got word that my novel had won a Peace Prize, I was both delighted and actually a bit ashamed. Ashamed because, as Mark said, during this time of war, I've had the luxury of sitting alone in a room inventing stories with wholly imaginary characters. And a Peace Prize by its very nature seems as if it should go to an activist, someone on the front lines or in the streets, or someone like Mark who's actively writing about nonviolence. So I had to convince myself with long arguments that there is activism too in writing a novel. And if you'd indulge me for just a few seconds, I'd like to give you the short version of that argument here, though I'm not entirely convinced of it. Novels are one of the few art forms that allow the reader to enter the consciousness of other people and know them fully, sometimes even better than our own partners or spouses. Through novels, a reader can converse with different types of people from different continents or classes, races or religions, even people they might disagree with. Novels allow the reader to cross borders they couldn't or wouldn't otherwise in their daily lives. Our job as novelists is to lose ourselves and enter the lives of others, whether those lives are lived in the Limpopo Valley of South Africa or Dayton, Ohio, the West Bank or the Upper West Side of Manhattan. Sometimes this losing of ourselves, for both the reader and the writer, can lead to a selflessness, even at times to love. In his clumsy way, Faulkner once said, "The first thing a writer must do is love all mankind." That's a pretty tall order, but it's one that every novelist practices in miniature with his or her own characters. They must live with and love them all, even the bad ones, the wicked ones. I'm tempted to say the evildoers, but I won't. At least they must understand them and see into their hearts our commonality. And maybe sometimes this seeing, this professional compassion, translates from the page to the reader and out into the world. That's my hope, at least. And I suppose that was also your hope, the people of the Dayton Literary Peace Prize, when you decided to hand out awards, peace awards to novelists. For this vision and your generosity, I am both greatly humbled and grateful. Thank you.